just happened to the intro. And so we jumping into this thing. Welcome to the African Speaks. This is the fourth day of Wisdom Week. The fourth day of Wisdom Week. I've been putting out this information. We don't gatekeep here. But we know that this August is, we call it Garvey Month. Some individuals took it personal that I called August Garvey Month. And said nobody celebrates Garvey in August. I said he was born on August 17th. So you can choose to celebrate him whenever you choose. We celebrate him in August. And then some of us are always giving honor to Marcus Garvey according to how we live. 365 days a year. And so that's where we at, right? We are celebrating Garvey. And so let me sit down. There's one thing I got to work on and do. Give me a hot second for this. There we go. All right, there we go. And so we've been doing it. And hopefully you've been getting your lessons and everybody's been listening. If you have any questions, always reach out. If you want to speak, go ahead and go to the public page. Either you do it on the YouTube page or you can do it on the African Speaks public page. I should be able to see your questions. All right, let me get this up. So let's get started. This one is very important to me. But of course, before we get there, let's do some preliminaries, giving honor and respect to the work of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, being able to see the need of his people, hear the call, and then respond. That is the path of searching for the divine self. See the need, hear the call, and respond. And so as he did that, he kept the cry. He kept the cry and gave us that mandate. Let us make man. Let us make man. And as the scripture says, so God created him in his own image. He created him, one male and one female. He created them. Let us make man. And what does that mean? That journey to the understanding the power of the divine self, that's this journey. Creating a black man and woman who can walk the earth, who has sovereignty, divine sovereignty, where there is nothing above you but the Most High. And everything you produce in this world, on this earth, is about experiencing that divine sovereignty. Pause. I need to give you that. Why? Because most people don't sit down and ask themselves, what am I contributing to my people for the sake of divine sovereignty? What responsibility do I hold? What gifts, skills, and talents am I supposed to bring to this struggle? And so in that space of seeking divine sovereignty, we said he gave us a cry of Africa for the Africans. Africa for the Africans. And in this day and time, whether you want to take it and actually physically go, that's fine. If you want to stay in the location of the diaspora where you at, that's fine. However, we always have to be a part of this unseen spiritual warfare for cosmic consciousness. Africa created the experience of functioning from our higher selves, reaching that plateau of inner divinity. That's how you get those empires that existed tens and thousands of years ago, sharing who they are as other genotypes manifest. And still having some of their architecture still exist. The level of intelligence was divine. And so in that space of reaching that, we did say in our previous sessions, that we have to go deep within ourselves. You got to travel further down beyond your consciousness, all the way down into your collective consciousness, the consciousness of the all, of the Most High, of your ancestors, the consciousness of each other. You ever share a thought with somebody? You think that if you have an idea, you're going to be the only person in the world to have it? No. However, there are others that may have it, but you might be the one who sits down and says, you know what, let me shift these gears in my life and produce this. Let me produce it, which is important. And so from that journey and trying to pay homage to the call to let us make man, of course, we emerge into the power of the divine self. And we have been doing this for a while. And this is the second to the last chapter. The second to the last chapter. But before we do that, we'll go over and have a prereq of this week, which was the voice activated. Voice activated being the language of liberation being expressed through everything you do. It's an ascension language that only uplifts, even that hard love. And from that hard love, we said, when you speaking the language of liberation and everything, you truly become a more profound seeker. Because now everything about your movement is about figuring out how to have more. Is that coming through the microphone? Somebody said something is that the mic? Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. All right, we're trying to see if we have some sound issues. Please forgive me. Wait. Testing 1 2. All right. A viewer said that we had some static, and hopefully I was able to fix that. All right, and where we stopped off is the experience of seeking deeper inside yourself to have a more of a, not just an understanding, but a knowing of your attachment to the Most High. The knowing of your attachment to the Most High. And how much more can you do in honor of that? And so we said in this journey, because you can't get here with an external drive or external focus. All this is an internal battle. And so many spiritual disciplines that says that we have the kingdom within us. And being within is not in your organs. It's in your consciousness. The consciousness that dwells inside this avatar. Spirit, soul, energy, it's inside you. And to access it more, you got to go inside who you are. And these last chapters are the example of what you would experience when you start dealing with life beyond your scars, beyond the mark of slavery, beyond the issues of your personal generation, beyond everything. Excuse me. So what we're trying to find out is if this issue is happening when I speak. And so, all right. So we got to try another microphone. Let's see if we can get this as we continue. We're going to see if we can have this happen and activate another microphone. Let's see here. And so please, I apologize for the delay. I am usually my own everything. And so in that space of being the own everything, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Okay. Let's try that. Testing. Testing, testing. Wait. Testing. Testing 1, 2. Okay. Let's go here. I'm always clever. Working this thing out. I appreciate y'all patience. Testing 1, 2. Let's try it this way. And if it is still staticky, let me know. I listened to my own speaking and it came out clear. So we're going to start from here. Okay? Walking through the walls of your own consciousness in a state where you are not dealing with anything from your past, no hurts, no pains. Nothing that is generational or intergenerational. This experience is an experience where you are functioning from the healed you. And you're truly looking for the experience in life where you are at your highest state. That's what we are looking for. All right? That's what you're functioning. So these chapters are chapters based off of an individual who has done the work. And if you're looking to see, okay, so how do I continue to do the work? How do I start the work? This is like chapter 32. You got chapters way before here. You can find them on YouTube in regard to the power of the divine self, where we walk you through all levels of understanding till you get to this point. And just because you listen doesn't make it happen instantly. You actually have to go internally and continue to do the work. I have somebody who's been trying. They get great going inside their own psyche to heal themselves. We had a Sister Najuma the other day asked that I do a whole week on forgiveness, because that's a part of the process. And I think that can be the next level, where we talk about how to process that. To reach the divine in you, it's needed. To get to the point where you are living in purpose, it's needed. And so this chapter and the chapters of this week are dealing with the fact that, yeah, this is what you can go through. This is what you can experience. This is what you can see. This is what you will get to know in regard to going in and healing what the world put in you. So tonight, we're talking about, and this is a special one for me, tonight, we're dealing with the topic, My I is Plural, the evolution of ego. What? My I is plural. The evolution of ego. Now, this one means a lot to me because I had a conversation with my mentor before he transitioned, and we were talking about the ego. And in his conversation, he was telling me, no, you don't mortify the ego. And I couldn't connect with that because every spiritual, even my community was saying, oh, you have to mortify the ego. You have to mortify the ego. You have to kill the ego. And he broke it down. And before I continue, I don't want to just say he. His name is Eric Paul Anthony. Before he transitioned, he was a Vietnam vet. He was, not a Vietnam, an Air Force bomb dog operator, right? Everett was a Vietnam vet, right? And we'll talk about him some other time. But he left me these things, and he traveled the world after his experience, and literally studied under so many people. And on top of that, I'm a part of a community, the PAOCC, and we had nothing but classes in my youth. To get to the point where I picked up what they gave and enhanced it, because in their journey, for me, they told me I had to mortify the ego. Mortify the ego. And then when I started studying under Eric, he was like, no, and we had that back and forth in regards to, no, you got to kill the ego in order for God to be useful to you. He said, no, the ego is supposed to evolve. And he didn't have the words to explain it to me. He said the ego is supposed to evolve and into what is needed. And if you see it, he said that everybody the light shines on everybody. Now, when you are functioning from a conditioned mindset, it ain't got nothing but dirt on your window. You can't get the light to shine through that. But the other half, when you get to that point where you're cleansed from anything that keeps you away from understanding your relationship and connection to the Most High, to the Source, God, Elohim, whoever you want, Jehovah, whoever you want to call, however you want to name it, there's just but one. And in that one, it places us on this earth. And that light shines through everybody. And the evolution of the ego allows that light that shines through you to manifest itself in a special way. You will never see another you. What happened? You can pour the pieces of you into somebody. We'll get to that. But you are a unique individual unto the Most High. So you do not mortify the ego. I'm going to say that now. You allow it to evolve. And I'll dive deeper into this. But I tell you again, this took me some years. Because of the way I was taught, I couldn't shake away the teaching. Until before the African Speaks, before the World of the Kibaland, before I could sit down and say, okay, I got to make a move, and I don't know what move to make. God said, get all that out. So I did the work. And then all of a sudden, my ego evolved. And it became the driven passion I needed to do what I do. And so at one point I was doing a service. And out of nowhere, strict download, it hit me. The journey toward higher consciousness is the expansion of identity. It's the expansion of who you are. The self awakens to discover the I is plural. When you say I, that's a plural statement. And then the we is singular. And when I was working with the scripture at the time, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love thy brother as thyself. Well, how do I do that unless my I becomes plural and my we becomes singular? I am everybody. Everybody's me. Why? We come from the same light. And we are a reflection of the light together. That's why in the journey with Garvey, let us make man. Man in the image of the Creator, to transform people into someone who can, a group of people who can just have sovereignty unto God and create the things on this earth that helps change the trajectory of humanity. Makes no sense that Africa is the most resourced land on this globe, but the most oppressed and suppressed. So we get to that point where our we is singular, and we function from that experience. And so when I talk about what is the evolution of the ego, and we're going to dive down into this. I'm going to sit down, and this is not going to be a quick, no, I'm going to make sure you get it, because this is what we need. We have communities, even in my community, where individuals who we develop and grow, they go off and become great within inside themselves. There was something missing in those lessons. The evolution of the ego. It wasn't mortified, so they stayed individualistic. But it is the gradual transformation of consciousness from a protecting a separate identity. From protecting you, it was on guard. And expressing you do that, then it gets to the point where it begins expressing a unique identity that exists for the flourishing of life. Your ego will help you fight for you, but when it evolves, it becomes a unique identity. Everybody has a fingerprint that is unique. You can't find any same fingerprint. Even twins have a different, unique identifier. And when you can expand your ego, expand it so that it intensely expresses the uniqueness of who you are for the greater good, then the ego is not destroyed. It is transformed into the energy that fuels that drive to be the direct expression of divine thought or divine intelligence. I can do this project this way at my best. And I don't do it for myself. I do it for the sake of the greater good. He says fear, you can't do it, becomes contribution. Control becomes I trust the people that I'm around and with, and that what we're going to do together. We don't compete, we collaborate. And if it's competition, it's competition that allows you to develop and grow. I'm only doing this to get the best out of you and the best out of me. It leaves protection and it becomes purpose. If you ever have in a place where, better story, Kobe Bryant went to Jordan and asked Jordan, how did you do it? How did you do it? Jordan said, you have to impose your DNA on your teammates. You have to you don't get them to play better, you get them to think different and apply themselves at their highest structure. Kobe asked Jordan, how did you do that? And Jordan laughed. I said, yeah, me figuring it out was the best part of the journey. You got to figure that out now. I told you what you need to do. You figure it out. And so the ego, when you're in a sacred community and everybody's working towards this greater good for the community, for the people, for the earth, the land, for humanity, you got to get people giving their absolute best. So you don't tell them to mortify the ego. You tell them to push until you transform that ego into the expression of energy that only allows you to give God and life your utmost best.
I couldn't explain it a lot when people say, how do you do all you do? How do you not do it? And it's always been like that. How do you not do it? I've walked into a place and transitioned into a space where I only want to give life my greatest self. I only want to give my family my greatest self. I only want to give my community my greatest self. And then when if it charges everybody within my community, then my community can get to a point where we want to give our greatest selves to the greater community. Where you don't hold back people who are exhibiting that drive to express the higher self. No. You promote it even more and look at those who have not been able to reach that level of transformation and say it is there for you too. One time in Akiba land, the brother was like, Jay, you got kids who want to be in the NBA? I was like, yeah. He said they family and their mothers and their fathers get them on Little League basketball and they realize they're not that good. And so when do the family or the parents tell them not to play basketball as a means to become economically viable so that you can pour into your community? That's not your talent. That's not your gift. That means you got to find something else. And that's what happens. In that space when you are continuing to, when your ego is transformed into the energy that you use to make sure that you deliver a home run every time you hit, every time you swing. So the ego evolves with the scale of the life within. Exactly, laws of humanity. Exactly. Who is thou, right? And who shall I? Yeah, that's all that's coming. One love. Exactly. When the ego evolves into that point, you're asking yourself, who have I been called to become? So it doesn't matter what discipline you find yourself participating in. You give it all you got. Because maybe this is a part of who you're called. And that will happen. You'll hear that. Within inside yourself. Within inside yourself, you will be able to hear who the Creator is calling you to become, what skills and talents you use, and then when you go according to it, you're looking at it and you putting it all together, what resources you need to, the Most High and your ancestors know, speak it, ask it, and watch it manifest. That's when you're in alignment. That's the lesson before, when we're talking about alignment. Becoming a seeker. And so, in that place, you get to that point where you transform and pull out, I had that word, right? Into your plural state of being. I need some more. Just as the ego began in a extension of others, and we're going to get to, I'm going to break this one down. We started as an extension of each other. The full realized self learns to hold space for the collective in this journey. Going inside yourself, when you're seeking the power of the divine self, with inside you, that ego expands to hold space for the collective. My I, me, is plural. And my we, us, is singular. But it's not in when you connect that way, it's not out of the state of dependency. But it's out of a shared consciousness. And the understanding that human identity is inherent. It's relational. Everything is about how we connect to one another. You have to get to that point where the ego expands and sees itself saying, I must be formed. I must become who I'm called to be. And the energy that's in you is to realize that I'm connected to all things. I'm connected to the Most High. I'm connected to my ancestors. I'm connected to the earth. I'm connected to my people. And I have to find out what character traits and how some of us know what our character and our traits and our abilities are before we get to this point. How am I supposed to use that for the elevation of a global consciousness? And then that ego transformation drives you to make sure that you are uniquely experienced in this world. And so to get to that point where I break this down, and I said, oh, we're going to have to get clinical. We're going to have to get clinical here. Stage one, the plural beginning. The stage one of your ego is when you're born. It's an interdependency. You see everybody as you. These my people. This my mama, my daddy, my brothers, my uncles, my cousins. You have that connection. And so we don't start off with individualism. We actually start off with communalism. And you develop into that a healthy individual. Discovering your gifts, your purpose, developing your skills, your confidence, your discipline, building a unique identity, building you. And that's in your developmental stage. Self-discovery, responsibility, personal growth, all that's in the beginning time. Now, what hurts is in that space, and this is where we talk about the tale of the tale of two cities. What we have to go through to get to our highest self is different than what everybody else has to do. It's different. And so because we deal with the great separation, our families are teaching us the psychological sickness, the post-traumatic slave syndrome, right? Everything about us, the epigenetic trauma, we have to go in and deal with that. And so as we're developing, coming in, we came in communal, but we get transformed through the great separation. Enslavement, colonialization, displacement, separation from land, language, lineage, culture. Separated from your divine identity. This is not something that always happens. You know what I mean? But you get to a black person gets to come into the world and stay connected. No. Our journey definitely takes us away from the divine identity. We walk into that collective trauma, the identity rapture, something that tears us up. We don't know who we become. And we start dealing, some of us, what was taken from me? What could I have been? What happened? The disconnection from ancestral memory, culture, language, land, spirituality, the philosophy of Ubuntu, the collective identity. Wait, we transition when we're socialized, and you wake up and you open your eyes. When your eyes start opening, you see that you're black in the diaspora, where it don't matter where you go. The world has not set it up for us to maintain our divine selves. And that's the fight that you have to get. You begin to function from what? Your ego switches now. Your ego switches. At that moment, your ego switches to the survival mode, where all it cares about is protecting itself. Everything is about survival. That's the conditioned self, and we've dealt with that. We talked about that. Where you have to do the work. That's chapter 26. You got to go in and put the work in. That's spiritual. This is what we say in Africa for the Africans is a constant spiritual warfare for cosmic consciousness, to actually walk into the identity of what we were called and created to be. Let us make man. One male, one female. And then somewhere along that line, when you're living a fear-based life, a fragmented identity, a protective ego, you're fighting how to survive, maybe a glimmer of light switches on. And you know that there's something about me that there's supposed to be more than what I've been seeing. What it is about me. And that awakening begins. The remembering. You question the lies. You seek the truth. You seek identity. You seek healing. You want to remember who we are. So you begin to embody things. You start asking the question, who am I really? Who am I really? I know I'm not what they say I am. I know I'm not what they perceive I am. Who am I? And you find that going internal. You start truth-seeking, healing. You go through the process of reclamation, reclaiming what's yours. And then all of a sudden, that ancestral remembrance. You tap into something deeper than inside yourself. You start asking questions like, hey, I heard that before. Hey, yeah. And you start putting the puzzles, pieces to the puzzles that is you together. And then you slowly begin to return to polarity. You return to that space where your I is plural. I am part of a collective people. I'm not out here on a solo. I just got to continue vibing at the frequency and where I am until I can magnetically charge myself to pull those to me. That is that when we talked about divine alignment. It ain't a forced thing. All you have to do is once you start walking into that world, you just be. You just be. And it will come. Life will come to you. It reconnects you with people, culture, and purpose. The identity expands beyond the self. Your ego expands beyond you. I am who we are, who have we always been. I connect to my collective psychology. You function in a state of empathy, unity, love. You share a vision. You share a vision of becoming who we are called as a group. How do we rise together is that question for that stage 6. The reintegration of a people. That's Ubuntu restored. And for us here, we say I am because we are, and we are because of the great I am. Because of the Most High is why we are. And so when you look at somebody, you see the divine in them because you can see it in yourself and you see it in them. You share that collective consciousness that develops into shared purpose. Garvey said, let us make man. That is the shared purpose, because when you become that, the purpose of creating the kingdom in which we can live in from that perspective becomes priority 1. Showing other humanity how to exist as divine beings, and then watching others mimic what we do. Changing the trajectory of humanity. That's a big call. This is more than just this. We got a lot of work to do. And it's a beautiful work. Some people spend their whole lives working on this, man. And I've seen people transition beginning to end. I said, I want that journey. Then that seventh and last stage of the development and the evolution of the ego is divine participation, living as divine expression. That's what the ego turns into, the energy that shares yourself to your people, your community, your culture, the earth, the world, as a divine expression, because no one can express the God that comes through you like you. Ain't no two of us walking. So many are stuck or back to level 4, the conditioned self. That's correct. Being guilty of this, that's big for somebody to say that they're guilty to be at level 4. And this is why it is important to stay on the journey with intention. Intention is getting to your highest self to share with others. That is the intention of life. That is the purpose of life. Thank you, Sister Najuma. This is the reason. This is the reason. To experience the kingdom of God with inside yourself and then share that with an energy that said, I can only be who I'm called. You can only be who you called. When you break through that conditioned self. A lot of people, just because they have the information, don't realize that they're still conditioned because there's still a journey to go. Then you start asking yourself, how is infinite life becoming visible through me? Earl, that's what you said, right? Earl Grant, one love. That is the question. How is infinite life becoming visible through me? When we talked about the voice, the voice activated, or the language of liberation, we said people can tell who you are before you even begin to speak. Before words come out, it happens with the minute that you walk in the room. It's an energy glow that comes out. If you're driving down and somebody sees you and need help, and you're watching people walk by, but they come and talk to you because it's something they feel. It's something that's in your eyes. Purpose in action. Service to life. Reflection to divine intelligence. That's what this is all about. Set your intention that every day to experience your higher state of consciousness. And then after that day, you go home, think about what you experienced, wake up that next morning, and ask to go deeper. In African spirituality, we don't level up, we level down. We level down within inside ourselves until we can get to that collective consciousness. Wait till you get to you hear the title of tomorrow's lesson. And so that is the purpose. That is the process. Now, one of the things that we have to take time to understand. Individualism versus individuality. Individualism is the lower vibration of the ego focusing on survival. And all they think about is themselves. Individuality is the expansion of the ego, where it's charged. How much more can I experience divine intelligence to come through me? It is the expression of the uniqueness of the gift that you are to humanity. Your traits, your attributes. It is to circulate the power that is inside you. We sharing this. This is great. It's bouncing off each other. I challenge you to be great. Not just because I'm challenging you, because look, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do my best at what I do. And anytime I understand something, learn something, I'm going to share something. and I'm going to share it the way I can share it. I haven't seen anybody do it, and that's what happened. When social media came out, I didn't want to be on it because I didn't want to experience what was going on social media. And then they said, become what you seek. I needed information, knowledge, wisdom to be born within. One love, my 5%ers. The purpose of your uniqueness is not to separate it. It is a contribution to those who you are called. And when we get it together, we share the newness of who we are with the world. And so it is a big difference. If your ego can fight for your individualism, let me see you expand it so it expresses your individuality. And then you charge someone else, or you get them to be great. You support their vision, their dream, and help them manifest what they see so that they can get an experience of the divine intelligence coming through. You don't hold nobody back. You don't stand in front of nobody. You don't gatekeep. Not when the journey is to experience God. And I remember having this conversation with in my community with Brother Bakiba. Brother, what? You got to call those who are ready to be not given an assignment, but experience and express their calling willingly. Like, what? That's when you find. And so you get to that moment where, wait a minute, my understanding of Ubuntu, it flows like a river. We talked about that. I am because we are. Ubuntu never asks the question, asks you to disappear. Ubuntu asks you to become fully yourself for the sake of everyone. Every voice matters. Every gift matters. Every calling matters. Every person awakening strengths to the whole. We give that freely to the whole. My eye becomes plural because I begin to see through the life of others as well as my own. And understanding, and I knew I had to battle with this one because I sat down and said, how do I get to a point where I love somebody like I love me? You have to see the God in them. And so as much as I want to be expressing my highest state of self and doing that, and every time I have a project challenging to even go more, Wisdom Week was a part of that challenge. Can you teach 5 days a week? Yes. I did 4 so far. Then we got Friday. Then we got World of Bakiba Land Saturday, and then we got Inspirational Sunday. I'm gonna be this is gonna be the first week in a long time I've produced something for 7 days straight. Why? Because I don't want to receive what I have and not share it. So that's what we do. In Ubuntu, I am because we are, and we are because of the great I am. The elevated ego is your divine fingerprint. You are not an accident. You are an expression. Your uniqueness is your divine assignment. Your uniqueness is your divine assignment. You transition the ego where it becomes the energy where you ask, what else can I experience? And you seek that with full passion. What else can I experience in terms of having the divine intelligence come through me? And you pursue that. And you share that. That is your fingerprint. Your unique print cannot be copied because it comes from a divine source. It comes It ain't you. Did you experience your best you in this experience? Yes. That doesn't mean just because somebody else wins the award, you didn't. No. So it said, I'm battling with the voice. Every voice matters. What if someone is speaking unruly? And in that space, you deal with the issue of empathy. You deal with the issue of empathy. I feel for you because I realize that the only reason why you're speaking like this is because you're still stuck in the conditioned self. And sometimes you can, brother, I apologize that obviously this situation hit a nerve that triggered your trauma. And you're speaking to me from a conditioned state. Please elevate to your highest level so that we can have we can commune. But if somebody's still coming off, of course, remove yourself. And let them know when I need you to have an elevated conversation with me. Don't speak from your lower self, please. Rise up, because we need a solution to this issue. So when you're dealing with the voice, sometimes, we were told our spirit has to be the dominant energy. And just being a dominant energy doesn't mean you're more aggressive, but you might be more understanding. Because I've had unruly voices literally attack me. And I sat down and said, in my mind, I'm sorry that you're functioning from your lower frequency. I don't have to endure this. Let me remove myself to a certain extent. But you got to understand, when you are fully expressing the fingerprint and the blueprint of who the Creator made you, you don't put no brakes on that. I had a brother come up to me telling me, you need to continue to be the gorilla that you are, because the gorilla that you are shows us where we can go. And he was an elder. One love, I paused. And he said, I see you. Don't put on the brakes no time soon. I hear you. So now before you understand, before you were born, you were already known, chosen, you are assigned. The world needs you, what only you can give. So you got to discover your gifts. You got to develop your character. You got to discipline your ego so it transforms and grows into the spiritual energy needed to do your highest goal. Deploy your purpose. Document your legacy. Pour into somebody. Say to yourself, I am a divine fingerprint. I walk in my uniqueness. I live for life. I elevate the world, and you do it with a passion. That's when the ego elevates. That's when the world gets your fingerprint. Your ego knows who you are. Always has. That's why it protected you. To help you get to that space where you can access your true power, your true self. Truly who you are. And help you to understand my eye is plural. So if you see the stained glass, in the stained glass, only one light comes through stained glass. It's only one divine intelligence that's coming through. Imagine yourself as one of those pieces of the stained glass. Now when the sun hits it, when the divine intelligence comes through you, the same divine intelligence that's in me is in all one of us. We are all expressions of the Most High. Let us make man. And when it comes through me, it looks different than it does when it comes through you. And then when it comes through you, it comes through you, and it comes through you. It looks different. But one light, one source, one divine life. Infinite amount of expressions. Beautiful uniqueness. perfectly whole. There are millions of unique expressions, different variations. See, you got people who look at the flyer, and I've had people post negative stuff thinking that, this is crazy. No, well, you're dealing with an issue when black people choose to love ourselves. You think we're asked to hate you. Not true. We're trying to find a deeper love so that we can inject that love inside ourselves and inside humanity to change this trajectory. So you have to surrender that to its transformation and not be scared. That light that comes through, that idea you have, that feeling or notion that somebody you want to help, do it. Don't rush. Slow down. Produce it. My eye is told because I recognize the light in others is the same divine light that is in me. And I honor the uniqueness of who you are. And I seek to make sure that we learn how to live in that space. Garvey said, let us make man. One male, one female. Where we are complete divine sovereign beings. And there is nothing above us. Nothing below us. Nothing in front or behind. Just our experience in God and our expression of the Creator coming through us freely. Now, what would the world be like if that's how we raised our children? You understand the passion words for Kiba and those who are watching and listening and are part of my community and say, he doesn't stop going. The man will not eat, he won't sleep, he just goes. Why? Because this is what my ego has transformed into. Helping others freely express who they are in the Creator. Wow. We had an experience where we first started robotics. It was up in there, STEM development. And we came into the tournament late, and the brother did not want us to compete because he said, y'all just started. I said, man, I don't care. We're going to express ourselves to the best of our ability. And we're going to do what we can do. We may not have been doing it as long as everybody else. And I tell you, we got up in there and placed. What? Yeah. Because all I asked them to do is let the divine intelligence of the Creator shine through you. Let's get this done. With that being said, knowing that we have this community, if you heard anything that moved you, Earl, I expect to see you again. Join the mission of building a better world through our community. Join the conversation. I'm always here at the African Speaks. Bring a child. And we can do that. There's nothing that will stop us. As we head into the final day of our Wisdom Week, we are getting to the point where we are going to the last chapter. And I'm like, man, do I really want to do this? I don't want this to end. And so the last one is going to be the emergence of divinity. The emergence of divinity. That's going to be the final chapter. Of the power of the divine self. Getting here and then probably break this up into clips and continue sharing it. But we'll go back to the coming of the Ubuntu generation, breaking that whole philosophy down and how it works with the power of the divine self. How it's a process of remembering this. And so I look forward to that. And hopefully you do too. I see you tomorrow night. And with all that being said, if you got something from it, share it, like it, comment. Like, comment, and share, they say. And I see you then. Peace and blessings.